Informed, outspoken, wild, fearless. This is the Fantasy Football Dudes podcast.
What is up, my dudes? This is Trent with the Fantasy Football Dudes podcast. I am joined by Jordan, Seth, and Phil, I believe, is on his way. I don't know. It sounds like he was on a little boat ride or something. I'm not sure. Today's episode, we are going over our worst starting fantasy QB rankings today. So we're going to start in the bottom half.
To answer your question, though, I don't know. I didn't think it was as hard as you think it. Maybe it is. I get what you're saying, though. Like, it's tough to like put guys in order, and like there's a lot of like, okay, is this person like he's this much better than the next guy, and like, 9-10, or like, is it really like if you could flip flop them, it's very coin flippy, I guess is what you're probably saying. Between
it's coin
guys.
Flippy, and like this list from like 33 to 21. There's guys on here that I don't feel good about having them on there, but I didn't know who to put them above. Hardest guy for me to rank on this whole list. We're stopping at 21, like I said. I've had a hard time ranking
20 Trent. 32 to 20 to 32,
okay,
right?
Sorry. So my list here on sheets has 21, but it could be off and not counted, right?
Oh, we're doing 32 through 21. Sorry.
Yeah, 32 to 21. Yeah.
Okay.
So I won't make fun of you for counting. So like guys I had trouble ranking were Aaron Rodgers, which we'll get into him in a few weeks, Jared Goff. Those were probably Aaron Rodgers was the hardest one I had ranking, and I just didn't feel right exactly where I had him. I feel like he still belongs in, that tier 1 quarterback, and I have him more on the tier 2. Is that kind of what you guys are thinking with Aaron Rodgers? Like looking at your rankings, but was that easy to throw Aaron Rodgers where you have him? We aren't even going to talk about him today. But like Aaron Rodgers, he's healthy. He's throwing the ball to Garrett Wilson today. I'm just like, man, maybe I should move this guy up way more. But I just age is a real thing.
Yeah, I guess Aaron Rodgers, I see what you're saying. I don't know. Like, I actually feel like these bottom guys were pretty, like, it is 33 to 20, Trent, for what it's worth. But like, I feel like these bottom guys were pretty easy for me, honestly. Like, just because like they're the bottom 12, and I guess I just didn't really think too hard about what order they should go in. Like I feel like there's a pretty clear. I could argue maybe like Matthew Stafford's a little bit tougher for me, but like the rest of these guys in this bottom 12, like I just think they belong in that bottom 12. So
yeah. I'm seeing what happened right here. Did I do 32 quarterbacks, but it got bumped down a line because I put that stopping point in right there?
I said that already, but it's
okay.
Yes.
So I did count okay. All right. That's good to know. All right. Well, we can jump into these rankings right now, guys. But before we jump in these ratings, here is a quick ad over from our friends at Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack is the absolute best place if you're looking for some fantasy football trophies. Last place trophies, first place trophies, bust of Patrick Mahomes. They've even got some nice wrestling singlets that say some, not so nice things about fantasy football. But guys, everything you need for your fantasy football league, head over to trophysmack.com/dudes. 15% off your whole entire order, guys. Go over to Trophy Smack. Tell them the dude sent you. You won't be sorry. You got to have a trophy for that fantasy football league. And if you want to draft some of these guys on this list, you might be getting yourself one of those last place Trophy Smack trophies. Phil has joined the pod. He is here just in time to kick it off here with our little bit of tough counting here of our bottom QBs here, worst QBs. Phil, the green line there says stop. So we will, probably should have read it's highlighter green.
Alto.
Yeah.
Phil,
exactly.
You missed Trent's, like, he said there was 33 teams again in the NFL, so you missed that.
Classic.
I went off my counting. Yeah,
Numbers are hard.
Sheets.
Numbers are hard. And here's the thing, a guy of Trent's stature.
Yes.
It's just to be expected, like that's
stature. What does stature have to do with anything?
Phil, that's dumber than me not knowing how to count. So I think you started that sentence.
You're as dumb as Jordan looks. That's all I have to say. All right. All right.
I hate you.
what we'll do here is let's start at 33. I think the guy that PFF has at 33 is just completely disappointing, if I could be completely honest with you. But
Now Phil doesn't know how many teams are in the NFL.
Sorry. 33 in the slot. 33. No. You're right.
No, what messed me up is the green line I put in there for the stop signal, and I will fit. I will
raise my hand. I am as dumb as Trent. All right, the 32 ranked quarterback I think is a completely. And, there's backups in there. We didn't know if they were going to throw a backup in there. Zach Wilson is taking snaps for the Broncos. We didn't know if they're going to have him at like 33A, right? They think he might be the number one guy there in Denver. He was taking snaps over Bo Nix in the starters group, Jordan. Did you hear that?
I didn't, but I do think before we even get in this, like to preface it with like some of these guys we'll get into, and we can just get there when we talk about it, but there is some question of who's going to start for some of these teams. We're kind of projecting who's going to start, and we can kind of get to it because for me, I would rank guys differently if certain guys were to start. But
if Mac Jones is starting, you may Trevor Lawrence maybe moved around a little bit. All right, let's get into this.
I'll have him at 32.
Before we lose all pod credibility, we should probably jump into these rankings.
Let's go. So Phil, start out with who you want to go with, and then
all right. So let's go with 33. And honestly, I'm actually going to go with Jordan.
30, it's 32.
Gosh darn, it is 32.
No, it's not as bad as what it is. It's because I entered in a line on the Google sheet to know where to stop, and it's throwing our numbers off. I will remove the line right now, and I will make the whole line highlighted. I am so sorry for trying to be smart. I'm so smart it made me dumb and made you dumb, Phil, which isn't that hard to do. But nonetheless, it has not helped. So I'm going to make the line green. We are good to go. Let's rock and roll, Phil. Take it off. You can now count right. There we go. 32.
It's a little bit late in the evening too at 32 because I know Jordan is the biggest. I would say probably the biggest hater of this guy. I actually probably just want to go to Jordan first on why on your take here for putting JJ McCarthy at 32.
I think he's the worst quarterback in the NFL if he starts. I saw today that there's like that Sam Darnold might end up starting the whole year, and if that's the case, I'll be honest, I don't know where I'd have Sam Darnold ranked if he'd be that much higher. I'd probably have to think about it. He probably would be higher. He'd probably be in the maybe above, like in that Will Levis, like right above. He'd be above Russell Wilson for sure. Kind of that Deshaun Watson, just in the mid-20s probably. But if JJ McCarthy starts, I get that he has some rushing upside, and I saw PFF has him ranked at like 21, which I think is a little crazy. But yeah, I don't think he's very good. So I think he's really bad actually.
And I would say, Seth, for you, it's got to be hard to put a guy who has Justin Jefferson as a wide receiver so low on the board, right?
Well, you got to get him the ball, though, right? And I think Sam Darnold actually is more of a possession quarterback. Like, I think he's the guy that's going to be throwing Jefferson the ball a lot more than McCarthy. So, yeah.
So what I'll say here is I have McCarthy so low because like Jordan said, we don't know if he's going to start. I'm assuming by the end of the season, he will start. Because Will Levis finished, super low on the rankings last year. All that stuff. At some point, this rookie quarterback is going to see time. I know today it looks like Darnold's the guy. And like I said, I'm not a huge Darnold hater by any means. I actually like Darnold. But, like, if you're going Sam Darnold or your only options, Jordan, let's say you had one too many Mountain Dews at a draft and you've just totally punted the quarterback situation. You don't know what to do. And Sam Darnold and, let's say, Drake Maye are the only QBs left. Like, who are you taking here right here? Let's just say, accidents were made in this draft. Like, you have to choose one of these. Or super flex. You punted this last super flex. Like, just if you had to take these two guys, who are you taking? Like, I know this isn't going to happen to you, but let's just say, mistakes were made, like, between these two guys.
Pigs fly.
Sam Darnold. I'm saying Sam Darnold because he's not on the list right now because JJ McCarthy is.
Sam Darnold or Drake Maye? Sam Darnold.
Redraft. Okay,
yeah, Sam Darnold.
Okay, redraft. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, just because we're assuming. I'm in the same boat. Seth, you going Sammy D?
Yeah.
Sammy D.
Okay.
All right. And honestly, we forgot that last year, while Jordan said that there is no way that the Niners would make it to the Super Bowl last year, Trent
not what I
that-
said.
Trent said that
Not what
Sam
I said.
Darnold was going to start last year, which is was that
That was
last year or
early-
2 years ago?
That was early season rumor mill where, we didn't know what was going to happen to Brock Purdy's, what do you have, Tommy John surgery and all that stuff. I said he might play some games to start the season. So
gonna steal
as
the
much as I
job.
want you to put words in Jordan's mouth, you come back and do it to me too, and that's just not cool.
It
So,
is not cool. All right, we'll move on
It's
here.
cool to do it to other people, though.
Seth's
It's not
cool with
yourself.
it. Yeah, exactly. All right. Moving on here. Did you guys talk about Seth running shirtless already? Sorry, Seth.
No, we did not talk about Seth running shirtless.
All right,
already.
we can get back to that later in the podcast.
What?
All right. All right. So actually, let's move up to, and I'll say it correctly here for you, Jordan. QB 31. And let's just go with.
That's the first
Okay.
proper counting we've done on this pod today, which is
That is the
actually a big
first-
step in the right direction.
Exclude me and Jordan from your guys' whatever.
I think
life
Jordan
you
got
live.
messed up one time.
Friendship. If you want us to exclude you from our friendship, we can absolutely do that.
Too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll let you guys have your little friendship in this atmosphere.
All right, Trent, you are the only guy that has this quarterback so low. He is the lowest on your board. A little bit closer to what we see with PFF, but both Jordan and Seth have him much higher on their board. You have Daniel Jones here at 31. You want to give us your thoughts?
Daniel Jones, I don't even know what to do with Daniel Jones. When was the last time we even saw him play? You know what I mean? He just always seems like he's banged up. I am excited for Neighbors. I just don't know if Daniel Jones is the guy. And if the Giants go out there and start the season 0-3, is there going to be rumblings of who they want to do here? This is one of those, I could see me streaming Daniel Jones in a pinch, but absolutely, I feel like you kind of know what you're getting with Daniel Jones. And maybe it's, get some QB1 weeks. But I'd almost rather take a gamble on these rookie quarterbacks I have ranked above him, because I think you just have better weapons on those teams. Neighbors, I do know is really good. I'm not excited for Daniel Jones, and I'm at 31. Who's the closest guy? Where's the next guy of Daniel Jones on their list? Am I just way off on Daniel Jones? Jordan, you have him.
Jordan and Seth have him actually tied there at 22. And I know we're going to get there, but do you guys want to touch a little bit on why you have him a lot higher than Trent does?
I actually think his rushing upside's pretty big. We've seen him in some big games, and I think if he stays healthy, he can finish. I don't think he gets into the top 20, but I think right where I have him is pretty good. I mean, the problem about these guys at the bottom is they can end up in any of these orders. I don't really see any of these guys, maybe besides Caleb Williams, maybe going up into the top 20. But all these guys I see all finishing here, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where they are. But I will say, out of all these guys down here, I think Daniel Jones has the best. I don't know if has the best rushing upside, but at least has the most experience, at least with these guys, with the most rushing upside. And I do think if he can stay healthy, he can finish there. But like Trent was saying, if we're taking players getting hurt into consideration, I do think he can easily end up outside of 32, obviously, if he's hurt. So,
don't you want to stay away from that Darren Waller rap song as much as you can? Come on, that's got to give bad vibes in that locker room. I don't even know if what, Jordan?
I didn't say anything. Didn't he not retire? I thought I saw he retired.
I thought he made a rap song saying that he's not retiring, that those were just he answered the retirement rumors with another rap, but I still don't think we know what Darren Waller's doing yet.
He's walking through wheat fields and standing in front of old Ford trucks with what looks like his Letterman jacket from junior high. What is this? What was that?
I don't know. Letterman's jackets are kind of cool.
Absolutely.
He probably has his face down in the ocean still right now. So maybe when he gets his head out of the water, we can ask him. What were you saying, Jordan?
No, to answer the Daniel Jones thing, I just kind of agree with Seth. I think the rushing upside there, they're not going to be very good. The weapons off the wide receiver spot aren't bad. It could be worse. You could have worse weapons for sure. And no Saquon, I think they're giving a little bit more touchdown upside. Yeah, I get there's just not going to be a lot of touchdowns in the offense in general, but a little bit more touchdown upside without Saquon. I think another year in the offense with the same head coach, he was hurt most. I mean, it's basically a prove it year for him, right? He's
Yep.
playing for his career pretty much. So, you know, I just think that he has upside to get up in that 20 area, that the bottom low 20s, just based on his rushing upside. And if they're bad, he's going to be throwing a lot. He's going to be running, scrambling. So I just think there could be like one of those teams, like not very good team, but quarterback, it has some fantasy value.
Yeah, is it crazy to you guys that he was Eli Manning's backup?
It does seem. Was he for a year?
I believe so.
Was. Really?
I thought he was right after. Maybe I think
no, he started his rookie year.
Yeah, he started. Eli was. Who did Eli get benched for though? Who was the guy? Eli got benched by somebody, and like his streak got broken. And I know Archie Manning was really mad about it. But someone started over Eli Manning at the end of his career, and then they like went back to the other guy. But
hold on,
who was it? Phil, are you finding it up right now?
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for now.
So Daniel Jones, I think he came in and started right away as a rookie. Was Daniel Jones? But I don't think him and Eli ever played together.
I think that's too far. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're thinking of the hefty lefty is who you're getting mixed up with, which that's okay.
No, he played in 2019.
Geno Smith replaced Eli Manning.
Yeah, he did play in 2019, and that's when the goal for Eli is to be our quarterback, while head coach Sumner told Manning, "It's your job to win games and keep Jones off the field." 2019. So
I did not remember that at all.
This is me just dropping knowledge here on the podcast. People are probably like, "Whoa, Phil knew that. Jordan didn't." Smartest guy in the room, Phil. Everyone's just like, "All right, let's just move on." I'm getting a little too
like
crazy
the time
here.
Jordan proved us right about Chris Webber playing for the Kings. Kings, the Warriors.
Hey, you know what, Jordan? Let's just start going at Trent. You know, I'm getting a little bit too much hate going on here. All right, moving on. So Jordan and Seth, you guys both have Bo Nix at this spot. Seth, I'm actually going to kick it over to you to talk about Bo Nix here. Talk to us.
He's on the Broncos.
Fair point.
And I don't know if he's that good. Like, sure, he's a great college player, you know, had good games, but he also played Pac-12 schools who were pretty bad. But they did beat down some good teams. Anyways, he's on the Broncos, and was he like a 25-year-old rookie? So, I mean, I don't know. The Broncos just bad taste in your mouth, rookie quarterback, bottom of the boat, you know.
So fun fact, I don't think the Broncos have ever drafted a quarterback. I heard this a couple weeks ago, and I'm sure you heard it, Jordan. The Broncos have never drafted a quarterback that's won a playoff game, I think was the stat, which is crazy. They've never drafted a QB because Elway was drafted by the Colts. Manning they traded for. So
what about Tebow? Was Tebow the Jets?
Tebow is the only guy they've drafted that has won a playoff game out of their quarterbacks. That's what it was. Tim Tebow is the only quarterback they've drafted. Yeah. So that they've drafted. So they've had some decent quarterbacks there, but I guess maybe it's just Elway was there my whole life, and that's what I'm thinking about, and probably most of our parents' life.
Probably Manning too, but obviously
who was the one guy they had after Elway? They had a solid one.
They had Jake. What was his name? Not Jay Cutler. They had Jay Cutler. They had Jake.
No, the other guy,
Stidham.
Plummer
wasn't bad. Plummer ran a mean naked boot, man. Like that was
he did have a
mean naked boot. Yeah, with Quentin Portis. Yeah, that team wasn't that bad.
No shot Marino, I think was on that team.
Yeah, I like Bo Nix, or I like Troy Franklin.
But like to echo like stuff about Bo Nix, like what made him so good fantasy wise in college was just his touchdown, like running, like. They got down to the one, like he was scoring, you know, and it's just not the same in the NFL. The rushing touchdown upside isn't there. They're not going to be scoring. And also, like, Oregon would score 60 points a game. Like, they'd score 6, 7 touchdowns a game. That's not happening with this Broncos team. So, like, I just don't see it. And I think he's right there with JJ McCarthy is like, he's a better thrower of the football, but like, he just doesn't strike me as like a successful NFL guy. So yeah, there's probably some decent rushing upside there, but I don't know. I just don't see it.
I have him at 28 on my list. It's just because of some decent rushing upside. I like that he's back with Troy Franklin. I don't really have him that much farther, but I feel like Peyton might put him in a spot where he maybe runs the ball a little bit, has some dump offs. I know the receivers aren't great. I kind of have him at 28 because I know what I'm getting in Gardner Minshew. And I don't do we even know if Gardner Minshew's the quarterback? Is it Aiden O'Connell? I don't feel like we really know with the Raiders even either. So that's kind of why I'm kind of punting the quarterback position for the Raiders. And it's like next on my list, I have Drake Maye. If you want to go there, Phil, and I'm like, I feel like Drake Maye, the Patriots might have the worst weapons for the quarterbacks. So we have an unproven coach. We have Sean Payton, who's kind of strung some stuff together with quarterbacks. And, those quarterbacks were Drew Brees and Tony Romo, who Sean Payton had, success with. But I'm thinking that maybe Sean Payton can maybe put Bo Nix in a decent situation. Sean Payton had Russell Wilson finish last year as QB 17, which that's not great, but Russell Wilson didn't seem like was that very good at fantasy football last year. I know there's a lot of injuries and stuff like that, but I feel like Sean Payton maybe could put Bo Nix in a decent situation. Other than this is just the Broncos, right? But so I don't. If you want to go to the next one, Phil, that's just my little point. I will say
he also didn't play the last 3 games, right? Wilson. So just to your point,
two or three, yeah,
the last 2 or 3 games. But yeah, moving on.
Be careful bringing that name up.
Moving up to Drake Maye. Jordy, anything you want to add there just to what kind of Trent said for Drake Maye?
I just have Drake Maye ranked over McCarthy and Nix just based on that. I think he's just better at football. I think he's just more talented. So I'm going to go with just more who I think is more talented when it comes. I agree that probably the least fantasy weapons or worst weapons to play with. I think he's better than JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix. So I'll have it ranked that way.
Seth?
If JJ McCarthy was starting quarterback and I knew he was playing, I would have him above Drake Maye just because of weapons and stuff like that. Proven offensive scheme, I would move him up above Drake Maye. But without JJ McCarthy, knowing if he's even going to take a snap this year, I have to put him at 32.
Yep. All righty. Seth, do you have anything to add there?
No, I think I'm just going to agree with what Jordan said. I think
Alrighty.
it's just 3 rookie quarterbacks. I think he's a little bit better at quarterback, but it could be different.
So Seth and Jordan both agree on this pick, which is a flop of where Trent has his guy, actually the exact opposite of where Trent and Seth have. So Jordan and Seth have this guy in the flip spot of where Trent has his guy in the exact same spot higher on the board. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You made that really confusing.
I did make that confusing. I appreciate you pointing that out. I've had a trouble hosting this show today. So I guess just to start there, we're going to go.
Reflection of your life.
It is a reflection of my life, the day I've had so far.
Basically, Phil's trying to say that we have Minshew in the spot where Trent has Bryce Young. Okay,
correct. And then he has Bryce Young in the spot that you guys have Minshew. Yes. See, Seth, why don't you just take over hosting at this point, man? I'm on the struggle
bus. Phil. Okay. Well,
so Seth, do you want to talk about you having Bryce Young so low here, and then
I'll just say this: I think he's only better because it's his second year. He's had some experience. I think he has some flashes of hope, but he's still on the stinking Panthers, man.
Yep.
We're talking about the Panthers here. I know they had a pretty decent draft. They're trying to build something with him, and they're going to ride with him, obviously, right? They spent a first-round draft pick on him. They're not going to give up on him yet. I think he's going to get a little bit better, but nothing to be anything better than, surprisingly, Russell Wilson. So,
I know. Hold on, Trent. Before you even go, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say he was really good. He was pretty talented at Alabama, number 1 overall pick. I know you're a big Dave Canales guy. You're gonna bring that. You're gonna say that like
I like
new
Canales. I
offense,
wouldn't bring
new
up Bama
coach.
though, but let's not bring up Bama because I think everyone on this pod maybe could win 2 games playing QB at Bama. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's not like brag about
But the point is that
yeah.
he's talented. You think he's talented, right? Like,
I think he has a good coach that has a proven track record. I wasn't a big Bryce Young fan because I don't like QBs that I'm taller than, but I think the coach makes him better than what we have him listed.
Him for what it's worth.
How tall is he?
I think he's like 5'10", 5'11".
No, he's like 5'9", I thought.
How tall is Trent? How tall do we think Trent is? I think he's like 5'7" and a half.
5'9" and a half, 5'10". No, like how tall is Bryce Young?
I think he's only like 5'10", Trent. I think you guys are probably about the same.
He's 5'10".
He is 5'10", yeah.
He's 5'10". I just looked it up. So
he's taller.
So he's an inch taller than me.
Exactly. So yeah.
All right, let's move on here. So Trent, you just don't like him because he's just a smaller guy, right?
I like his coach, and like look at his past 2 coaches. Look at Baker Mayfield before Dave Canales. Look at Geno Smith before Dave Canales. Like Geno Smith, like you know what I'm saying? Like, why are we going to count Bryce Young out too? He's younger, and they got the offensive line a little bit better. They have, they're still old at wide receiver. Adam Thielen said they have the worst facilities in the NFL. That's definitely not going to help you get any taller. So, yeah, I've made this argument a few times. I have him at 23. Like, I don't have him bumped up that much is all I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
starting quarterback in the NFL, NFC South, I think he can make a little bit jump. Last year, he finished at – where'd Bryce Young finish? I'm looking at him over here on the right on our sheet. He finished at QB 23. So I have him exactly where he finished last year. So you guys think he's going to be worse this year than what he was last year with a year under his belt, better coach?
I mean, there was a QB carousel last year, maybe the worst we've ever seen. So like part of that just goes he ranked at 23 just because he played so many games, right? Like I'd be curious where he ranked when you consider like who else played that many games or roundabout. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, I feel like we had a lot of QB injuries last year, or just guys just getting replaced and benched and all kinds of stuff. But I mean, Trent, I could easily bump him up over Russell Wilson. You don't got to convince me to do that. So I can move him up above Russell Wilson.
Just to make Phil mad, you should have done that. But we honestly don't want to turn this pod into a let's defend Russell Wilson. Is he a Hall of Famer pod? Because that's not what we want to do either.
It's true. So. It is true. He did have a couple Hall of Fame seasons. All right, moving on here. Trent, since you have this guy at 29 and then Jordan and Seth have him at 23, do you want to talk about our good friend Gardner Minshew, excuse me? I'm surprised Jordan doesn't root for him more. Don't you? Aren't you kind of surprised?
Jordan had Minshew mania, man. Back in the day when he was on the Jags, Jordan loved him. Jordan talked about getting I think Jordan drove his mom's minivan just so he could be like Gardner Minshew. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Minshew's a van guy. Jordan wouldn't be a van guy.
He shaved Jordan the bottom part of his goatee.
Yeah. Thought about growing a mullet, wore super short shorts. Anyways, Gardner Minshew, got him here still I like his weapons too. Gardner Minshew is another guy I thought he's probably a guy on this list that anyone I have on this list, he's one of the guys I'm throwing in that stream category with any given matchup. Maybe I put him in there, but it's just hard to get excited about him. We don't know if it's Aiden O'Connell. I think it is going to be Minshew's kind of where I'm leaning.
Yeah, they're paying him $12 million. They're not going to start Aiden O'Connell.
But the coach, I don't think that coach cares. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just all about, Raider
he also
brand.
has a boss. He has a boss, though, Trent. Like, as much as you think that,
that's true, but do the Raiders really want to get? I feel like his boss has learned.
Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell? Gardner Minshew fits the Raider brand, Trent.
He does. He is. Renegade. Abandoned. Yeah, he definitely does fit the Raider brand. He looks like a Raider quarterback.
He does. He actually looks like he gives off Rich Gannon vibes a little bit, doesn't he?
Where you put you guys have Gardner quite a bit higher than me.
Yeah.
I Gardner quite a bit higher.
Who do I have him higher than? I have him here because I just am not. At the moment, like I said, we're going to redo these again in July. I'm not sure who the QB is after all the coaches speak about. It's Aiden's job to lose, but I know you guys like him, Devontae, all that good stuff.
Well,
if you wanna
let's
keep
move
going,
on
Phil.
here. Let's go to 28. And I'm Seth. It probably pains you to put him here. Maybe it doesn't. I know he's not on the Seahawks anymore. But Seth, do you want to
Doesn't.
talk about your your 28th ranking there?
It's just Russell Wilson. I mean, like he kind of finished pretty high last year, like which I was surprised by. But like I said, Jordan said it was kind of like just a tornado of QB things that happen. So I think that's partly why he ended higher. But he's still Russell Wilson. We saw how bad he was, and I think it's just going to be another repeat. But like I said, it's going to be better. Probably have a better season than the guys below him. So, but
You're getting a
Russell
FaceTime
Wilson.
call there?
No, it's an alarm. I don't know why.
It's time for him to get a glass of milk. He's still a growing boy. Russell Wilson, like if
Lay out
we
his
were
running
told,
clothes, shorts, socks, and shoes. Apparently,
yeah,
no shirt.
no
It's
shirt.
usually a good reminder to do it.
What do you think if Justin Fields was the starting quarterback for this team? Where do you rank him on this list? Do you rank him around 17? Do you move him higher? I love the Steelers pass catchers. So that's where I'm just kind of confused on this. I can't get behind Russell Wilson.
So like
Plus the kick return points.
So like I mentioned like if someone else was starting, I'd have them ranked differently. Like I think that's the biggest difference for me is Fields and Russell Wilson. Like if you tell me Fields is starting, he's probably
14,
12, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in between there. 12 through 15 for me, maybe even higher, honestly. Because he has elite rushing upside, right? Elite rushing upside.
Yeah.
And then, but Russell Wilson, man, there's not a lot of rushing upside. I can't do it. I just can't.
Aren't they paying Justin Fields more money, though?
Well, this year I think they are.
Yeah.
But I think next year it's Wilson, I think, is getting paid more.
Yeah. What would be awesome is if Fields finished higher than Caleb Williams somehow this season. But
like I think if he was a starter, I think he would be like, and to be honest, I do think Fields ends up starting, but when it's all said and done, but
end of the year.
I mean, it's just I can't get behind Russell Wilson.
No, I can't unless he just start. I'm kind of curious to see like how George Pickens ends with just the chucking right there. But with chucking and under, here's a quick little sponsor here from our friends over at Sleeper.
Dudes, we get it. Fantasy football is tough. From injuries, lineup decisions, stage fright at the draft. But what shouldn't be tough is the platform you play fantasy football on. Make the best and easiest fantasy football decision today. Text your commissioner right now and demand he takes your league over to Sleeper. From trading rookie draft picks, multi-team trades, a chat, and much more, Sleeper is the ultimate place to play fantasy football. And now Sleeper's offering picks with dynamic payouts, where you can win 100 times your money. They have multiple ways to play and easy research tools right there in the app, so you can make a good decision. Cheer together and watch your contest unfold in real time. All you gotta do is pick a player and choose an over-under. It's that easy, guys. The next easiest part is enter promo code DUDES100 and they will match you up to $100, guys. Come on, what are you waiting for? Take your league to the next level and have some more fun and win some cash along the way. Head over to Sleeper, guys. You won't regret it. I promise.
All right, head over to Sleeper. Promo code DUDES100. They'll match you up to $100, guys. We just wrapped up. What was that? We did 32 through. Where we at here, Phil? Just that.
We got to get the new Sleeper logo. Did you guys see that? Do you guys see that new?
I did not see the new Sleeper logo. What's it look like?
Cool. They updated the app. There is a new Sleeper logo. It's pretty sweet. I actually like it a lot better. It looks similar to the last one, but it just looks a little bit more like, I don't know, devious. Is that the right?
Like naughty? Maybe naughty. The right word.
It almost reminds me a little bit of the little purple devil on iMessage.
The emoji, it does. I just noticed it. When did that happen, Phil?
I want to say 2 or 3 days ago.
Man.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, moving on here. So we had Russell Wilson. Trent, you had Bo Nix at 28. You have Russell Wilson at 27. Seth, and I want to go a little bit different here. Seth and Jordan, you guys both have Will Levis at 27. Jordan, I'm going to let you start on this one. Why do you have why do you have Will Levis at 27?
I don't know. I guess he could be higher. I don't think Will Levis is very good. So it just goes like him and like the next 4 guys are all really close for me. So it's like splitting hairs between the 4 of them. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm not a huge believer in that. Yes, they have weapons. He has weapons in Hopkins and Ridley, and there's other. I think there's even more guys there now. I'm forgetting somebody, but Pollard's there, right?
Pollard is there.
And I don't know. It's just Will Levis. I don't know. It doesn't excite me. Does not excite me at all. And not like he showed me a ton last year.
Tyler Boyd's there as well.
Tyler Boyd,
Trey
that's what I was
Burks.
thinking about.
Yeah,
Special
Trey
teams,
Burks,
Trey Burke.
made some good plays on the special teams. They said yesterday. Will Levis is just boom or bust for me. Like I just saw a little bit last year that makes me want a little bit more, makes me think there's a little bit more there, makes me think that maybe he can get the job done. I am excited for Will Levis. Do I want to draft him? No, I don't. I'm not ready to make the leap right here. Maybe next year he's a lot higher on all of our lists. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I'll say. Will Levis just screams boom or bust me. I think in the right situation could be okay.
Yeah, we can move on. But listen to this quarterback room. Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, Malik Willis. That is like sometimes you'll see a quarterback room. You're like, that'd be a fun room. Like to just hang out with some of those dudes. That does not strike me as like a room of guys that are going to go to Top Golf after practice, right? They just seem like a bunch of different individuals. Does that make sense? You guys following me there?
Yeah, no, that's a pretty lame quarterback room. I'll go with that.
It does not seem like a fun quarterback. Like they're not playing ping pong in the locker room, right? They're probably, I can see Mason Rudolph reading like an encyclopedia in the Titans locker room. Like he just doesn't seem like a guy you'd want to hang out with. No offense to him. You know what I'm saying a little bit?
Best way possible. I don't think half our listeners know what an encyclopedia is, Phil. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's the point. All right. Moving on here. Trent, you had 27. Or Seth, did you have anything to add there to Will Levis?
No.
Okay, cool. All right. We can move on here. This is so we have a little bit of so it's very similar to what PFF has them ranked. I'm actually going to go back to well, you know what? Let's go with Trent. Trent has a guy who he basically has loved for the entirety of his youth, extremely low on the quarterback rankings. And so I want to give him an opportunity to talk about this. This has been an idol.
I cannot stand you. I cannot stand you. You are so annoying. You're such a liar. This is not true at all.
Jordan, Seth, come on. This has been Trent's idol growing up. Like the guy's only like a couple of years older than us, and Trent worshipped this guy growing up. Like absolutely Valley guy. Trent, let's talk about your number 26 pick here. I'm sure it just pains you to have him this low on the bottom half of the QB rating.
You should go after Jordan and Seth on this one. I am like the one Fresno State fan that actually says that David Carr was better than Derek Carr in college. And people like look at you funny. Like David Carr was my childhood hero. That's guy like Phil gets those two guys mixed up though because he wasn't a Fresno State fan at the time. So it's fair. I'll give him that. I just think the guy's aging. They did draft Spencer Rattler, which I'm not worried about Rattler being the QB there, but it does make me think that they're kind of thinking like, hey, let's kick the tires. Let's see some other QBs, stuff like that. So I just don't know how his body's holding up. He's getting old. I'm getting old. You know what I mean, Phil? Like we're getting old. Like, you know, the back problems start happening. You know, Phil's got that gout, stuff like that. So Derek Carr, I love Chris Olave. I'm curious to see where everybody has him ranked, which we're not going to talk about today. But I didn't see enough from him last year. I don't know what the deal was. I felt like last year was kind of his year where I thought he could maybe turn it around, and it just didn't happen. Last year he finished with the injury-riddled season at the QB position. He was quarterback 15. And if you told me he finishes at QB 15 again this year, would not shock me. That's probably where he's going to fit. These are the rankings of how I kind of feel like how they're going to fit on this list, but it's also kind of like upside of where I want to draft people too is kind of how I look at it as well as doing these rankings. And the guys I have in front of them, I feel like just have a little bit more upside. Maybe I should put Derek Carr in front of Geno Smith. Maybe I went wrong right there. Might be a little off there. But, this is my childhood hero that I'm defending here. So who knows? But, yeah, I got Derek Carr at 26. You guys have him a little bit higher than me at 24. But anything you want to say about Derek Carr, it's just not exciting there in New Orleans for whatever reason. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's the team. With Chris Olave, I feel like it should be a little more exciting, right, Jordan?
He feels just a little safer to me than like some of these other guys, like safer than Will Levis, safer than the Seattle quarterback situation, safer than Deshaun Watson. Those are kind of the four guys I was talking about before. Derek Carr just feels the safest to me of the four, So, and like, to be honest, when you're down here, you're in my opinion, I almost think you're drafting for safety, So
Yeah. Yeah, no, and you have him. You only have him a couple spots up, just for what it's worth. You have him, 2 spots up, 2 spots north or south, depending on how you're looking at it. Setherton, you have him also in the same exact spot as Jordan. Anything you want to add there?
No.
Okay. Seth, did Jordan copy your top 20 quarterbacks? Your top 30?
Honestly, I told this to Trent today. I thought we were doing the whole list, and then Trent, kind of punted that we're doing the bottom list, and I was too lazy to kind of rank them exactly. So I just kind of looked and I saw Jordan's. I was like, that seems about right to me. And I honestly, if I were to do it from scratch, I probably would do something like exactly like it. Trent's just seems a little silly to me. But I'd probably do it more like Jordan's exactly. So I don't honestly looking at it and like talking about it, I don't think I'd change anything I put on there. So,
and are you talking about the rankings still, or life
the
direction?
Everything. You're following the guy with the gambling pride flag. I have an American flag back here.
I don't have 4 TVs in my house.
Oh, you're talking about sorry, I just wanted to be clear. I wasn't sure what you were talking about. All right. Seth. All right.
Here's a serious question here. Let's say Derek Carr somehow crazy.
Of course, you bring him back up.
Finishes as QB3 this year. Like has a Kirk Cousins type season.
It's not possible. It's impossible.
I don't think it's possible. Does that get him comeback player of the year award? That's all I'm bringing up. Like if Derek Carr finishes within the top 5, does he make the list?
And if Geno Smith breaks both his hands and
he already got comeback player of the year. He can't get it twice.
If aliens come game 1 of the NFL season, Trent, you know what? We'll have that discussion when that happens. We don't need to have this conversation now. That's such a what if question. That's like something I would ask my kids, like driving down the road. Yeah, it's just a question where it's like, hey, Dad, would you rather? And it's just like, sure, I'll answer this question because you're 8. But when you're 35 asking me these questions, it's like, come on. Do you want us to answer it? We will answer it for you.
Yeah, no. I just hope it happens now because you guys are complete morons. That's why.
You know what?
We should bet money on this in June.
Trent, it's literally impossible. Like I actually think might be mathematically impossible for Derek Carr to be a top 3 fantasy quarterback because he's not going to have any rush. He doesn't have the rushing upside to do it.
How good does he have to do to get this? Joe Flacco got comeback player of the year last year. Like
you said top 3 touchdowns. You said top 3 fantasy quarterback.
I said Kirk Cousins type season. Basically the question was, what's he have to do to get comeback player of the year? Has he fallen that far?
Well, what?
Joe Flacco finished, just if you want to look at your list at what he finished at last year, it was not very high. And he got comeback player of the year.
Joe Flacco played like 5 games and was like the next second coming of Peyton Manning in those 5 games. Like
I know, but he didn't finish top 3 QB though. Like, so it doesn't take that much.
Trent, you framed the question as if Derek Carr is the top 3 fantasy football quarterback, does he win comeback player of the year?
That's the answer be yes. Then that's all I'm saying. What does he have to finish to get comeback player of the year? Is it number 9? Like, what do you have to do? Like, Jordan, all I'm saying is you have really good odds on this right now.
I don't think he was bad enough last year. I guess we disagree on what he was like last year. Like, I think he was
last year. He finished as QB 15. So you're right. He probably wasn't bad enough.
Yeah.
I hope he's not watching this and just hears how bad you went on him. All right, moving on here. All right, let's talk about the Geno Smith, Sam Howell situation. Seth, since you are a Seahawks fan, you are a resident Seahawks fan. You've been a Seahawks fan slightly longer than I have. I'm going to let you start this, and then Jordan can clean up for the first time in his life. Go ahead, Seth.
I just hope they start Geno. I think Sam Howell can sling it, and we saw what the Commanders were doing when they were down in games, just throwing the ball a lot, which is fun. I think the Seahawks are built for that, but I think our offense is better, and I actually think Geno can maybe run an offense better. But that's has nothing to do with fantasy football. But I just have them ranked there just because I think the weapons are good enough, and I think both quarterbacks are good enough to put up the numbers for this spot.
But Seth,
that's why he has them ranked there.
If Geno Smith runs into a burning building and saves a box of kittens, do you think he'll win the Walter Payton Award in 2024?
No.
Right. You are so stupid.
That was basically Trent's question a second ago.
No, that was way stupider. That was way dumber. That was dumber than you look. Dumber than Seth looks.
All right, get silly. All right, Jordan, go ahead. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I think who are they going to start? I guess I do think they're both very similar, Geno Smith and Sam Howell. Not sure how much of a difference there actually is between the two of them. So I kind of just think they are what they are. Sam Howell probably has more upside than Geno Smith. If it's Sam Howell, I'd maybe push him up a couple more spots. Maybe he goes above Derek Carr. But kind of, I don't know. They're just kind of fine. I think the floor is a little higher maybe than, I don't even know if the floor is high with those guys. So I think Geno Smith is a higher floor than Sam Howell. Sam Howell a little more upside than Geno Smith. But they don't excite me that much.
Just for what it's worth, Sam Howell finished as QB 12 last year.
I know, rushing upside. He has more rushing upside. And
he definitely has more rushing upside.
Weapons. I think Sam Howell has upside, way more upside than Geno Smith.
Yeah, and I think for fantasy reasons, I think I would rather have Howell in there. It's not great for the Seahawks, but that dude he'll just throw it up. And honestly, that might be good for guys like DK Metcalf.
Yes, but I guess the counter to that point though is Sam Howell last year, what made him as a decent fantasy quarterback. He was dropping back 65, 70 times in a game, right?
True.
He was chucking the ball 50, 55 times some games, taking off 5, 6 times, running sacked another 5. He was dropping back 60 times a game in some games. It's just not going to happen in Seattle if he's a starter. They're going to run the ball.
Pete Carroll is no longer there. So the running the ball thing might be a little bit different. We don't know.
Just
new coach.
Yeah.
It's a new coach, new era, Jordan. We can't say Pete Carroll is just going to run the rock, pound the stone.
Phil just likes Sam Howell because they both eat the same burgers. They're both in those Impossible burgers. Phil brought hot dogs to my house one time, and he brought these vegan basically, I don't know if he got them on the dog food aisle or what they were. They're absolutely terrible. They had the V vegan on them. So, yeah, Phil has a very strict, no hot dogs at my house.
Phil,
I thought it was V for Valley. That's what I thought. The V for victory on the back of the dogs' helmets. Go ahead.
The new coach was with the Ravens for the last 10 years. So, they're going to run the ball just as much. It's not
exactly.
change
with the quarterback. With the quarterback.
No, Stop. All right. Next.
All right.
What do we got next here? Hey, guys, while you're listening to this, guys, remember, don't be rude. Share the dudes. Really helps out. Give us a like. Give us a sub. All of that good stuff, guys. And give us a follow on YouTube and Instagram at tffdudes, guys. Don't be rude. Share the dudes. What we got next, Phil?
Yeah, so let's move on here. These Seth and Jordan have this guy slightly higher than you. Slightly lower than you, rather, Trent. But Seth, you want to talk about a quarterback in the Seth? I was sorry, I know you're just putting your headphones on. Do you want to talk about Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, so I do think he has better upside. He has some rushing ability, but we all saw how kind of bad he was at the Browns last year, which is why I have him at below the guys I have ranked above him. But I do think he is going to have a good enough play to have a better season than the guys ranked below him. He's kind of in that middle range, he could easily be terrible and benched. but he can also easily be better than what we expect and kind of perform to like the top of the list we're going over, like in the 20, 20, 21, 22 range, right there, right around there.
All right, Jordy.
He might have the most upside on the whole list, Phil.
You think
Deshaun
so?
Watson
I don't think he's any good. No, Deshaun Watson, I think is completely washed and not good. But if you want to talk about upside and guys that you could maybe sell in dynasty fantasy football, stuff like that, like you want to talk upside, the U word, Deshaun Watson's probably the perfect guy to bring up. Like it's just not like
but
look how good he was a
problem,
couple
right?
years ago.
Not in Seth and I's. In Seth and I's 12, he doesn't have the most upside. Maybe in your 12 that we're talking about, he does, but not in our 12.
Okay. Yeah, I like Deshaun Watson when he's at Houston. Like he had some good games, like he had some really good seasons. He's just totally fallen off the map. And last year I had him at QB 12 and it was just a disaster. He got hurt, so we don't know where he would have finished, but like maybe that helped him. Is he still the highest paid QB in the NFL? Like he's up there, right? Like
he's up there.
He's up there. I'm just looking at his stats last year. I got to scroll really far down here for him. I'm going to just search it easier.
He was
bad.
I
know, but I want to see the games he had, what his highest finish was.
Was it last year that he played week 1, Trent?
Yeah, last year he finished quarterback 8 week 1. Then week 2, he finished quarterback 25. Week 3, he finished quarterback 10. Week 9, he finished quarterback 8. But yeah, he's all over the place. Not his highest finish was QB 8. So yeah, it was.
No, he
wasn't good.
Yeah, he does have some upside. That's why his floor is not as low, his ceiling's higher than some of these guys. Just Seth and I have, I think, someone else in this bottom 12 who I think has a little more upside. Trent just has that guy higher, so it makes sense for Trent.
Where do I have Watson? I'm at 24.
Yeah, he has him a spot up. He has a spot.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
above Gino.
Watson. I'm just saying, like Trent, we have Caleb Williams in this bottom 12. You have Caleb Williams not in this bottom 12, so it makes sense for you to say that Deshaun Watson has more upside than anybody else.
They have him at 21, and you have him higher.
That's
Caleb
what I'm
Williams
saying.
Caleb Williams is really hard for me to rank too. That was another one that I kicked him around all over the place. But if you want to go to the next one here, or if you want to just go through these, then finish up with Caleb Williams here. If you want to go through.
Yeah,
those.
I just want to go through this.
Everyone.
Yeah, we've kind of covered everyone. So at 24, Trent has Deshaun Watson. Seth and Jordan have Derek Carr. At 23, Seth and Jordan have Minshew, and Trent has Bryce Young. At 22, Trent has Will Levis. Seth and Jordan have Daniel Jones. And then this is where it gets kind of funny. Let's talk about Trent's 21, and then let's talk about Jordan and Seth's 21. So Jordan, do you want to talk? Trent, do you want to talk about your 21 here?
I hate my 21. Like this is another guy like Jordan. I said I struggled with Matt Stafford at 21. Like I feel like if he stays healthy with those weapons with Sean McVay, I feel like he could be a lot higher on this list. And I have him at 21, but there was guys that I just didn't feel comfortable putting him in front of. But like I love Puka, I love Cooper Kupp. Like I know that I feel like Puka's getting overdrafted. I still think he's gonna be good, even though he's going first round and stuff like that. But I still do like Matt Stafford. Where do you guys have Matt Stafford on your list?
Well, I have him one spot ahead of you at 20.
You have him one spot ahead. Okay.
But my counterpoint to you, Trent, is that like you can say he has good weapons, doesn't mean he's going to be a good fantasy quarterback. Like Cooper Kupp and Puka, especially with what type of receivers they are, they're high volume receivers. Those receivers don't need touchdowns to succeed, right? Like they're not big play. Yes, they can make big plays, but like those guys are receivers who will have the 8 catches for 80 yards. Or 8 catches, 100 yards with a 100-yard bonus, and they're going to have 18 fantasy points a week. Like, I feel like Stafford has almost zero rushing upside. Like, you're not getting anything.
Oh, for sure.
And the way quarterbacks are nowadays, Trent, like, that just means so much for quarterbacks. And secondly, like, I don't know how much even, like, throwing touchdown upside he has. Like, he's not going to have like 4 passing touchdown games. Like, I tried to make Stafford work a lot in DFS last year, and there's just no ceiling with the guy. Like, you're getting maybe 2 passing touchdowns a game. Like, they run the
And
ball.
Kyron doesn't help.
Yeah, Kyron, and they have Corum. Like, they're gonna run the ball at the goal line. And so I guess, like, and again, like, yes, as good as Puka and Cup are, and I think we have our reservations on kind of both those guys to an extent, like certain things with each of them, they don't need the touchdowns to get there. So, like, yes, those guys could both be top 12 fantasy wide receivers, and Stafford could be out to the top 20 as a fantasy quarterback. Because, like, in full point PPR, those guys can get it done without touchdowns. And even to an extent in half point, they can get it done too. I mean, Stafford can easily throw for 240, 50 yards a game and 2 touchdowns. And I don't know if he's really a top 20 fantasy quarterback if he does that.
Yeah.
Looking at Stafford's just PFF finishes last year, his highest finish was QB5, and that was week 14. Then QB8 in week 13, QB6 in week 12. Before that, he didn't crack the top 10. He was hurt week 9 and week 10. Maybe one of those was a bye. I think one of those was a bye. But yeah, his numbers weren't great. He did have Cooper Kupp out most season. But yeah, kind of what you're saying kind of echoes that, Jordan. He can support number 1 receivers, but it's just like the TD upside. So
Trent, he had, and I think these are the weeks you're talking about, he only had more than 2 passing touchdowns 3 times. And that was the week 11, 12, 13, which I think is the 3 weeks you just referenced maybe. But so he only threw over 300 yards 5 times, so it's not, so he's not going to get those huge yardage games.
maybe no Aaron Donald. Maybe the defense is worse. I don't know. That's something you can maybe look at. But yeah, you guys have Caleb Williams here. I have Caleb Williams all over the board. I think his weapons are just really, really good, but he looks really bad right now. And I'm just trying to keep it. And like upside, rushing ability, stuff like that. That's why I have Caleb Williams where I have him. I'm shocked how low you have him here, Jordan. I felt like you were going to have him. You were going to be thinking I have him low at 11. So you have him at 21, which just kind of surprises me because I thought you liked this guy. I thought he was the chosen one.
I have Jaden Daniels ranked quite a bit ahead of him. I just liked Jaden Daniels' situation a little bit better. I think there's a little bit more rushing upside with Jaden Daniels. I think they're going to be a little bit worse team, to be honest. I think they might be throwing a little bit more. I like Caleb Williams more long term, but I don't know. There's something about I worry about him a little bit. There's weapons there, but also I also don't think he has as much rushing upside as maybe you think he does, Trent. I think that's where
he's more of a scrambler than a rusher. I'll give you that.
I don't know. Like, maybe he could be higher. And if you told me he finishes his QB 10, I'm not surprised at all. It's hard. Like, we get in this range of 15 through 21, and it's tough. I could have Caleb Williams over Matt Stafford, I guess, and maybe I should. I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel good about him right now. I don't feel as good about him as I did a month ago, if that makes sense.
He just doesn't that one NFL scout said he's basically Prince if he played quarterback in the NFL. I think that's what people can't get over. You really don't know what you're going to get out of this guy. He makes some good throws. He's throwing tons of interceptions at practice right now. I'm just assuming he gets this all together and can put together a good season. But you want to talk about teams with bad quarterbacks. We talk about the Broncos. The Bears might be worse at drafting quarterbacks than the Broncos are. So
I do. And also, Trent, I do think that the Bears are going to run the ball a lot more than the Commanders will. If we're going to compare Daniels and Caleb. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Bears are going to be a better team. I think the Bears defense is actually low key, solid. So I I just think they're not going to have to like be behind in games and throwing the ball a ton. And I don't know. Like, I feel like that's kind of what unlocks Caleb Williams' upside. Like at USC, they just threw the ball a ton, right?
What about
So-
rushing? You don't think he can run a little bit too?
But if they're up and he's not dropping back a ton, like, and they have running backs they can rely on, right? And it's not like Caleb Williams is a 1 yard line guy where he's gonna sneak it in. Yes, he
Absolutely
can
not.
do that, but like that's the difference between like him and like a Jaden Daniels, who I'm comparing him to, is just like Daniels is that guy. Like Daniels is the guy at the 1 yard line who's gonna be like Hurts and sneak it in, you know, or he's gonna keep it on the 2 and the option and take it in. Like Caleb's not Justin Fields. They're not even similar quarterbacks at all. Like Caleb Williams reminds you of like Mahomes in the regard of like he's a good runner, but it's not what he does, right? Like he passes to run instead of like he's dropping back to pass, and sometimes he ends up running.
And what I will say is like Jaden Daniels, like it's just going to be a better game script too. Like he's probably going to be getting beat really bad, and he's going to have to throw the ball. So
exactly
to your point, I think that's
and he is like, I mean, they got Herbert and DeAndre Swift there. They're going to run the ball. I just feel like they're going to run the ball.
All right. I think that kind of does in our rankings, right?
Yeah, we're not going to go to 20. Is that correct?
Yes, we are not going to go to 20. That's what the green line's for. So
I'm
perfect.
not
All
sure if
right,
that
I
guys.
think it'd be red. Stop, but
That's just what I did. It was supposed to
Green
be.
means. Did you ever see that Office
it's-
episode when he says green? Green means go. Go ahead and shut up about it.
Yeah, go ahead and apply that advice to yourself. All right. Well, hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And as always, take care.
This has been another episode of the Fantasy Football Dudes podcast. Remember to rate, review, and follow. For more information, go to www.thefantasyfootballdudes.com. And remember, we are sorry for absolutely nothing.